Welcome to our last live of the year. And I'd like to welcome, so far reached out in the chat, Julie, Terry, Blaine, and Stephanie, and 1D, K-Tree. Welcome. This is going to be my last live of the week and Gringos Are Us. I'm going to answer. Julie asked a question, so did Terry. Julie said, going to be in San Miguel for a few months. I was wondering if you have any recommendations for home delivery of special food products like beef, etc. Julie, there's a lot of people that do home deliveries. There's some people that go all the way to Querétaro. The best place to find a lot of that stuff, people that actually are in the business of doing that, and I don't know if you're online right now, but if you're not online, I promised anybody that leaves a comment, I'm going to answer their questions first. The best thing to do, there's a list on Facebook called San Miguel Civil List, and that list right there, a lot of people advertise their services on that list. That's the best place, and you can post on there and say, hey, does anybody do delivery? This was more prevalent during COVID. We had a lot of people that were starting businesses that would go out and do stuff. Also, here in San Miguel, we have Uber Eats, which also does grocery shopping too. You can get groceries and stuff. Also, Rappi is another that's also known in the United States. Rappi also has services down here, so you can download the application, pay online, and order stuff, everything from groceries to alcohol to, I know Uber Eats and Rappi for the delivery free, of course. And then pretty much any restaurant, if you want stuff to go, come and go, eat out or eat in for Uber Eats or whatever. Terry, coming from the U.S. to San Miguel, how do I get there? Flights from an airport, etc. Your best bet is to fly into Querétaro. I think Gringos Are Us answered that question. The best thing is to fly into Querétaro. The other place you can fly into is León. León, the only problem is the road here. Even if you take like a shuttle or whatever, it's not as good as the road from Querétaro. Also, Querétaro's closer. There's a lot of direct flights from the United States into Querétaro. So as a matter of fact, I'm taking a direct flight to San Antonio in March. So that's the way to get here. Now, I do know you also asked for also renting prices for a 2-bedroom furnished apartment in a nice area. I'll tell you what, Terry, I can give you a more or less, but I'll also give you a website where you can go and look up rentals in this area. More or less, depending, for 2 bedrooms in a nice area, you're looking at probably around 15,000 pesos. Furnished, probably around 15,000 to 20,000 pesos, which is anywhere from 800, 700 or 800, 700 to $1,000. Now I'm going to switch over to a website that you can go to and you can get an idea. It's called Inmuebles, Inmuebles, INMUEBLES 24.com. And here, now I know it's in Spanish, but if you hit the browser key and say translate to English, it should do a pretty good job at translating it to English. Then you can go in here and you can say, of course, it says departamento is apartment, but here it's saying department. So you want to look for an apartment, and you can actually look and search by to rent, buy, and it's all over Mexico. But you can also look in San Miguel de Allende. And also real estate too. And you want to, where do you want to move to? San Miguel de, hold on, just 1 second here. I don't know what's going on with my keyboard. I'm having some issues here. Hold on here. Shoot. Hold on. I'm gonna have a hard. Maybe because I did the translate thing. Search San. Okay, I'm gonna do. I'm having some issues here, but you can see here. There's different locations. San Miguel de Allende, Guanajuato. You continue. You want bedrooms? You want a 2-bedroom? And let's go from no minimum 2-bedroom. See results. And you're looking at, like I said, 20,000, 19,000. These La Lajona, Santo Domingo, 19,000. See, here's one for 15,000. Marquesa and Zirandaro. This in the area that I live in, but you need a car. It's a nice area. So you can get 2-bedroom apartments for as low as 15,000. Let me go back to our stream here. So that'll give you an idea, but in inmuebles.com, it will give you a real good idea of what things cost here in Mexico as far as rent. And also purchasing, if you want to just kind of look at how much is a truck, a house here. Stephanie, how's it going? Terry Marcus, how's it going? The best is in Mexico. Hey, how's it going? I got your message that you're coming. Fred Ernst. Hey, Fred. And Julie, Lisa, how are you doing? And Terry Butler. Or it's Lisa was the one that you that you said you were coming. I don't know. The best is, I guess, it may be the same. Lambden, how's it going? Bruno, how's it going? And everybody, let's see, Lambden, Anna, welcome. My beautiful wife's here too. So let's get to, let me see here. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody here. Oh, and also, I guess Julie asked a question. Oh yes, is there any good sports bars or cantinas to watch the playoffs? I don't actually, Julie. I don't go to very many sports bars or whatever, but there are a couple here in San Miguel. Like I said, we need to. You might want to check the Civil San Miguel list, but I'm not real sure of who's going to be playing the playoffs. So, also. Big reminder, Gringos Are Us. We have 3 subscribed that are coming and staying with us on the 25th. I've already gotten RSVPs from 3 subscribers. Don't forget to reach out. Here's the thing with the 25th. We're on for the 25th. I'm still looking for a place in the Central. A lot of people are getting Airbnbs in the Central. So you'll be within walking distance. And you'll be within walking distance. And then the other thing is that I haven't gotten a place yet. I have family in town. I also, my anniversary is on the 2nd of January, so we're going for a quick 5-day trip. Hopefully in January we'll get everything settled in and as far as where we're going to be meeting. It'll be on the 25th. Here's the thing. It's going to be in wintertime. There's a lot of outdoor places here. So we're going to discuss this on the, I've been meaning to put it in the WhatsApp chat that we're organizing it. But I went ahead and I'm going to put it in the WhatsApp chat to see if they want to do it during the day or in the afternoon. So we'll see what happens, but we should have and the other thing too is to be able to communicate. I think the last we had talked about was doing a Facebook invite or a Facebook event. Now, the only thing is, I think Gringos Are Us, you guys have a public facing page because my Facebook group is private. So we need to be able to put the event up wherever everybody can access it and we can direct them to it. And people can put, I'm going, I'm attending, we can get an idea. So hopefully, hopefully we'll be there. Marcus, how's it going? Great to see you here, Marcus. I hadn't seen you in a little while. And Lisa, I got your message. And Lisa, you're really close to you're going to be where your Airbnb is located, where you sent me the location. It's a very good location. You're in the middle of downtown, all the restaurants. You're within walking distance to the Parroquia, and we'll go from there. Wrong half to ask that question of Ernie. Well, well, once we get the right half, actually, we'll talk about it in in our WhatsApp chat. Have you ever driven far, Fred? Have you ever driven that far into Mexico? I'm not sure. Actually, Fred, I've driven all the way from the border all the way down here. I haven't really gone that much further down. I'm in the central part of Mexico, so we're close to Mexico City. We usually fly most of the places we're going. Like in January, we're going to be going to Morelia, and we'll be going on the bus. So, but I have driven all the way from the border all the way down to here. And Gringos Are Us, they've driven all the way down to the southern border. Yes, and they were actually staying in. They went all the way down to the Chiapas area, and that area where the south is. So let me see here, and let's see what we're going to do today. What I thought we would do today is, since this is the last live of the year, is I was going to go ahead and address any kind of questions that you guys might have. I haven't heard any new news as far as anything changing. I did do a consult today, and I know I had discussed that we're really up in the air as far as a lot of things that are going to be happening in the near future, with Mexico, with residency, financial income requirements. I know everybody, the minimum wage has been announced. I think that was a 12% increase. And if you apply that to what the residency requirements are now, just add 12% on to whatever. Hey, Gina. Oh, hey, is on our account, other account. I'm working on Facebook. Oh, okay. Gina's, you're already working on the Facebook event page. And actually, Gina, if you can put it on, you guys, see, the thing is, I don't have a public facing Retired Life in Mexico page. We just need to put it somewhere where it's accessible by everybody, so we can start directing everybody over there. Actually, so I can even send out some emails to put the link whenever we get it done. So awesome, Gina. Thank you very much. I should have a place in the central. What we need to find out is how many people are coming, and then we'll go from there and see if what places can actually accommodate us. But we don't know, like I was saying, we don't know what's going to happen as far as the residency requirement. Told you needed the intelligent half of this duel. Well, Mark, you're pretty intelligent, but it's not the intelligence; it's more the IT background or the computer background. What we're going to do is discuss what we can, but things are not, we do have a new administrator. Oh, and when I was talking about residency requirements, you could probably add 12% onto that. But we do have a new immigration administrator. The SRE, the Exterior Relations, the equivalent of the Secretary of State, is the same, Ebras. And so I don't see things changing as far as using a different formula, but things could change. And also with the new immigration director, I think one of the focuses is more automation. We may see a little bit more automation, but their immigration has been on a forward path to total automation. I think the latest automation was they went to a full appointment system now, and they went to you have to actually go online and get an appointment for your immigration. They had it last year, real early in the year, I think in the year before, but I think the appointment system opened up, then they closed it back down, but then they opened it back up. So now they're working on a lot more automation type of stuff, bringing more technology into the immigration system. So we're going to have to see. Also, like I've mentioned in previous posts, we're going to have to see the political environment. There's been a lot of threats made to Mexico and Canada from the incoming president and his shadow president, as they might say in the press. But there's been a lot of things said, but one thing is to say it, one thing is to do it. So we're going to have to see. I don't see Mexico taking a negative, and if Mexico has to take a negative posture towards the United States, I don't think that negative posture is going to affect immigration, people that want to come here. As a matter of fact, I was even making a comment that politically, Mexico has always been everybody's friend. They've always been neutral in a lot of things, in a lot of political world and geopolitics. So, as a matter of fact, if it even gets bad in the United States, you might even see Mexico starting to open up a more open, how would you say, welcoming for people that want to get out of the United States. I'm just assuming that because I've seen Mexico's postures before. So we don't know. Politically, they might be fighting, but for us people that are going to immigrate or whatever, I see more. And actually, it looks good on Mexico. For example, if something happens and they start accepting a lot of people that are running away, then what better to throw in the United States' face is that everybody's running away and they're coming here. So politically, their posture is probably better off. I mean, yes, there's going to be things that they might fight, or if this tariff thing comes on, there might be a war of, we're going to tariff you if you tariff us, and all sorts of stuff. But I don't see Mexico taking, and I don't see expats being looked down upon or discriminated against because of the policies of the country. The other thing about the Mexican culture here that people need to realize, which is very different than the United States and Canada, is that here in Mexico, the attitude is all of that stuff, like the president of another country, the president of Mexico, everybody kind of sees them as, oh, he's a politician. Politicians are politicians. And people don't take things as seriously when it comes to politics. Most people make jokes like, yeah, right, it's just a bunch of politicians. People are more realistic here about the way the political system works. Whether you want to say corruption or not corruption, and I don't want to go into it because people start saying Mexico's corrupt. Well, all politicians are corrupt, no matter what country you come from. The only difference is that, it's a little bit more obvious in certain places than other places. But most people here will tell you, yeah, politicians are corrupt. Yeah, I don't care what they say, or whatever they say doesn't mean anything. So they're a lot more realistic. So you're not going to see a bad sentiment towards, I don't know, American politics saying something bad to yeah, people might get upset, but you're not going to see, I don't see a negative attitude towards Americans or Canadians or whatever because of their political beliefs or that are being projected in that country. So let's just see what happens. Like I said, Hey, Michael, how's it going? Okay. Hey there, Ernie. I'm going to Guadalajara on January 2nd. I'm bringing my iPad and MacBook Pro. Would I pay any import fees? I'm leaving from Tijuana. Actually, you shouldn't have any issues, Michael, because you're leaving from Tijuana, um, and you'll be able to cross, and you're going to be flying international, not internationally, within. You're not going to have to go. Well, you'll go through customs at the bridge. I don't know if you're going to be walking across or going. Tijuana is a pretty busy port, so I don't think you should have any issues taking it in there. Um, you should be flying. And here's the thing on the customs and import fees, Michael. When I was saying that Cancun was doing it, then I heard that they're now classifying an laptop as a tablet, is not a computer, but you might not have any issues. I think that they went back on that, but here's the bottom line: an iPad's not classified a phone, and it's not classified a computer. So at one time they were saying kind of like an iPad counts as a phone, but now they're saying it counts as a computer, and uh, it just all depends what customs wants to say. But you shouldn't have any issues. And actually, Michael, if you're going to be crossing, you're going to be crossing in the Tijuana port, and you know how that is. You've crossed many times there, so you shouldn't have any issues. And customs. So let me see here. Hi, Ernie. Tom. Hi, Ernie. One time when I was hitchhiking in Mexico, Gringos R Us picked me up, but I escaped from the trunk anyway. Oh, that's right. It wasn't them. Did I? You probably had too much wine. Well, maybe it was them. You don't know. You never know. They've been traveling all over Mexico. All right. Let's see here. And he broke the lock on the trunk. Yep. You never know. It might have been them, Tom. um, Tijuana. Oh, Lambden had asked if the Tijuana airport's growing. Yeah, actually, a lot of people take off that are in the California area take off out of Tijuana, but yeah, you shouldn't have any issues, Michael. Let's see here. Any other questions? I don't see that we have any other questions. So let me see here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up this year. I don't want to make any predictions because there's just, as far as the regularization program too, it's still going on as far as we know, but it could go away. It could stay being the political ambiance. As a matter of fact, it could even get less restrictive. A little bit of history about the regularization program. I know a lot of you have seen things on YouTube about how, and as a matter of fact, this is the thumbnail. Residency in Mexico, no financial solvency requirements. Residency in Mexico, no financial solvency. And of course, that gets you to click on there because how do I get residency in Mexico with no financial solvency? The regularization program, and everybody says, oh, it started with COVID. It didn't start. It was started around the time of COVID, but it's always existed. Hold on here. Oh, Julie, I'll get to your question here, Julie, but let me just finish here. It has always existed. The only thing is that immigration hasn't implemented at all time. But there are what they did was they went ahead and made a program that it started. But see, the thing that started in COVID was it was humanitarian. It wasn't the regularization program. It was a humanitarian residency program, but they used the regularization program regulations to implement it. But what happened is that they basically are saying, hey, we've updated all these computer systems. We're starting to even crack down on the border runners, people that are running to the border every 180 days. And we're encouraging everybody to get residency. And one way to encourage you to get residency is, I know some of you don't qualify, and also it's not fair that we put in that these financial solvency requirements have gone so high, and a lot of you have been living here illegally, and now we're telling you to get legal, but now you can't get legal because you don't have enough money to qualify. It's kind of catch-22. So they said, we're going to open up this regularization program. What happened is, it was a program that was supposed to be temporarily put in place so that they could get as many people legal. And actually, it was kind of a way of telling people, hey, you've been living here illegally or irregular, whatever you want to call it. You've been living here illegally. Why don't you just get your residency? And we're going to make it easy for you. We know you've been living here. So if you prove you've been living here, or you've been here before a certain time, and you just come to the immigration office, we'll give you your residency. Well, that's starting to be used now as a program to get residency without financial solvency. The problem with that program is it was only supposed to be temporary. It was supposed to go away a year and a half ago. And then they started saying, okay, each immigration office is going to evaluate it by office every 6 months. So this program can go away at any time. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, no, don't worry, regularization's around. No, it's not. And it is an alternative, but there is requirements to qualify for it. It's not just an easy fix. So, Julie, you're asking about the Green Angels from U.S. Cell Phone. Haven't had it in the past. Just wondering if anyone has. I've never had to contact them on the cell phone, but the one thing that I did notice, that I have noticed, Julie, when you're roaming here in Mexico, and for example, if I'm on a U.S. cell phone number and I'm roaming, normally the numbers that I'm roaming on a Mexican tower, so normally the numbers that I can call, like I can dial with my phone roaming. Same thing when I go to the United States. When I go to the United States with my Mexican Telcel, I have both American and Mexican. But when I go to the United States with my Mexican Telcel, it's on T-Mobile. It roams on T-Mobile. So I just dial 956 or 555, whatever the phone number, and it automatically works like if I'm dialing in the U.S. And that's normally the way it works here in Mexico when you're roaming on a Mexican tower. So even though you're on a U.S. phone number, how would I say, you're using Mexican cell phone service. So the way you dial a Mexican number, the way you dial any kind of star, whatever, you're going to be, if you dial star 72 or star 65, it's going to do the star 65 here in Mexico, not in the United States. So you should be able to get in contact with Roadside Assistant. The Green Angels, for anybody that doesn't know who the Green Angels are, they're people, and some of you might have seen them on the road. They're usually, it's kind of like a AAA. It's a public service. These people ride up and down the highways and they work accidents. You get a flat tire, they'll help you change your tire, all of that stuff. And they're called the Green Angels. And they're usually, you'll spot them on the highway going back and forth. And if the car's stuck on the side of the road, they'll usually stop by and try to help. So, question from Lisa. We have our temporary visa. Is there a different line we supposed to go through at the airport? Actually, Lisa, every time that I've traveled, I've gone through the line. And here's the thing, and I wouldn't go through the foreigners line. They might send it, those people that will send you to the foreigner, the people that check your passport and say, okay, go to this line, go to that line. They might try to direct you to the visitors line. Don't go through the visitors line. Go through the one where Mexican citizens go through, the citizens line. And if they do tell you, no, you need to go through, show them your resident card, and you shouldn't have a problem. Oh, and actually, Oh, and Gringos R Us and those crazy creators making all those crazy statements about the no financial solvency aren't going to be at are going to be at our 25th reunion, our 25th get together. So basically, and I take it you have your temporary resident card, but just take your temporary resident card and your passport and show them both too, and you can go through the Mexican national line. And actually, they're going to understand a little bit better than the visitors, because the visitors, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a secret, even though they know what's going on. The visitors line is set up to get visitors through quickly. So the immigration officer is used to pushing a button. I don't know where the button is on the computer, but 180 days, electronic FMM. All they do is scan your passport and boom, give you the permission. The problem is they've gotten so programmed to do that and get people through the line. You have more of a chance of getting checked in as a tourist, like some people have, than if you go through the national line. Now, either line, doesn't matter, they can process you. But you want to go through the national line. That kind of gives you an extra security that you know that they're not going to check you in the wrong way. Fred, do I think gentrification from expats moving here causes any friction from residences? Assuming we try to speak Spanish and embrace the culture. Actually, Fred, I've actually dealt with this subject before on several lives before, and I've also done some videos on it. Here's the thing about gentrification, and I'm going to tell people right now, gentrification happens everywhere. I mean, I know that there's some people that are really big into this gentrification thing, but gentrification happens in the United States. I'll give you a perfect example. People in California are fleeing California because of state income tax, because it's getting too expensive to live there. And they're flocking to places like Texas. Even talk about politics. Elon Musk moved from California to Austin, Texas, and took his plant to Austin, Texas for reasons of getting away from taxes, okay? So what happens? You're going to have that gentrification no matter where you go. And Mexico is no different. You have a lot of foreigners coming in that are gentrifying a place. And I want to stay away from the term gentrification because it's kind of a nasty word. But you have people moving here. Does it cause friction? The Mexican people are very, very welcoming. I haven't seen it cause any friction here in San Miguel. Now, here's the thing. In San Miguel, we have a lot of foreigners that live here, and the locals have embraced the foreigners. Will you hear Mexicans talking about, oh, with all the foreigners coming in, prices have gone up? Yeah, it's normal. But do you hear that in Austin, Texas? When Tesla moved there and everybody was moving there from California, house prices doubled. I mean, there was people selling. I mean, not only that, there was people that their house was only worth like $400,000, and people were making cash offers of $1 million to buy the house because there was a housing shortage. Did that affect the locals? Yes, it did. But and you probably got a lot of complaints. It's the same thing here. People are going to make comments, but in general, most of the Mexican people, now I do know it has caused problems in Mexico City, but you got to remember Mexico City is a big city. There has been movements to say, you know, gringo go home, get rid of gentrification. They put up signs, but that's in Mexico City and only certain neighborhoods. And literally those neighborhoods, I'm not kidding you, literally everything's in English. People don't even speak Spanish in the neighborhood. Yeah, it's been totally taken over. Whereas in other areas of Mexico, that doesn't really happen, even though there's a lot of foreigners. It was funny today. We went to City Market because we shop at City Market for a lot of things. And a lot of English, a lot of gringos, if you want to say, and we were joking around. I said, we see more, because we lived in South Texas. And I said, we see more gringos here in Mexico than in the United States in South Texas. But it's because we go to City Market, and that's one of the places where most of the people go. But when you leave City Market and you go down 3 blocks or 4 blocks, it's it's normal Mexico. I mean, it just all depends, and you're not going to get. Um, Let me tell you, if you embrace the culture, speak the language, try to speak. Let me tell you something. When you try to speak Spanish, um, it's more thank you for even trying, and that's what. And you'll find that in most of Latin America. I'll tell you the truth. It's in most of Latin America. As long as you're trying, no one's going to put you down and say you're the evil American that's making my grocery prices go up. Actually, I see more foreigners complaining about the new people coming in and the gentrification. Actually, I see more expats or immigrants or whatever you want to call yourself. I see more people that are living here that are from the United States and from and Canada and everything complaining about the people gentrifying. And it's not because, and they do it with, oh, poor Mexicans can't afford to live here. No, you're complaining because your prices are going up. You're complaining because you don't want your rent to go up and you don't want anybody to come in because you found the secret location where you could live real good. And now all of a sudden that everybody found out the secret, you're upset. And actually, I see that more from expats than I actually see from Mexicans and the Mexican people. I'll tell you what, the gentrification, most of the complaining I see is from other Americans and other Canadians and other people from out of that aren't even from here. I even make a joke sometimes. I tell my wife, you know what? I don't see what all these people are complaining about because the Mexican people are the ones that have a right to complain. These other people don't. You're part of the problem. The people that are complaining about the gentrification and they're Americans and they're Canadians, you're actually part of the problem. So why are you complaining? That's my thing. I sometimes get on a high horse when it comes to that. Lambden, Green Angels are only actually, yes, mostly on the quotas, but you will see them on different highways. Also, they will if you. I think I need to get the number, but there's a number that you can call, and if there's one close, they'll go on the Libre. But they're mostly on the quotas. One thing you have to understand about the quota and the toll road. The quota is a toll road. One thing, when you go on a toll road and you pay the toll, you actually pay for an insurance. Remember that. You pay for an insurance. So you're going to see a lot more service, in a sense, on the toll roads. And of course, other than being a little bit safer, you're going to see a little bit more care taken on those toll roads because of that. And number one, you're paying the toll, and you're also kind of paying for an insurance. Yeah, Tom, Lisa, make sure to go through the Mexican citizen resident, yes, line, and that's what I was telling you. And just have your resident card and your passport ready. And before you present your passport, here's what I always advise people, Lisa. Tom is right, but one thing that I want to add to what Tom said is one thing that you want to do is show them your resident card and then give them your passport. So that way there's no confusion that he gets tied up on your passport and tries to check you in as a tourist. That's one of the things, that's what you need to really look at is is making sure you don't get checked in as a tourist. That's really the big thing there. Yes, exactly. I always give my resident card before I give them my passport. It breaks their routine. Yes. And the resident card shows I'm a resident. And that's what I do. And that's what I've done this couple of times that I've had to fly out and fly back in. Let's see here. Yeah, Tom. You know what? I haven't flown into Querétaro. Actually, I'm going to fly into Querétaro. most of the airports I've been in Mexico, flying in internationally, Mexico City, Monterrey, most of them have a Mexican citizen line. Querétaro, it is a small airport. And I'm just about, I've flown out of Querétaro, but I've never flown to the United States. I've flown domestically, and because Querétaro's the airport where we fly everywhere from here. I've flown domestically. I'm getting ready to fly internationally. Actually, Querétaro's kind of changed the when you have to check out, has changed the regulations a couple of times. There used to be, you have to go to the immigration office to check out on the way out. By the way, if you're a resident, you have to check out. And then they started putting a booth next to the security line, was the last I heard, that when you go to the gates, you can check out. And now I'm hearing, and I'm checking into it because I'm going to do it, that you have to check out, that the airlines is taking care of it. My understanding was the airlines eventually is going to take care of the checkout process, so you don't even have to go to INM anymore. The airlines is going to do all of that stuff in the computer. But I think what's going on is the systems aren't totally integrated with the airline systems yet. That's what happens in the United States. When you get your I-94 and you give it back, there's a form called an I-94, which is the same as the FMM. If a Mexican citizen on a visa, when they go in, they get the permission and they have to hand it back in, they hand it back into the airlines. And handing and checking out here in Mexico is kind of like your I-94 in the United States, where you have to give back the form. And at one time you had to give back a form. You had to fill out a FMM form. Not anymore. It's done in the computer. They just stamp your passport on the way out. It's for statistical reasons only. If for whatever reason, now most airlines won't let you get on the plane going to the United States without checking out, regardless of what airport you're in, whether it be an airport that does it from the ticket counter or from whatever, they'll check your stamp in your passport because they can get fined if they let someone get on the plane that wasn't supposed to get on the plane. So you'll see them being a little bit more careful. But Marcus, spot on. I lived in Austin 25 years. It's gotten so expensive. Yes. And even the outskirts of Austin, for example, Round Rock, all of that area, like Round Rock, all that areas where Dell, Tesla, all of them have put up plants, and it went crazy. So, yeah, you're right. Correct. One agent meeting the flights. But yeah, I haven't been, my sons have been through the Querétaro airport from the, and I'm just about to do that. Alerny, I'm going to be leaving into Belize from Cancun via commercial bus, not airline. Where's the best place to get your exit passport stamped to prevent reentry problem? Okay, first of all, Blaine, you're going to be going on the bus. The bus should stop at the port of entry. Usually will stop at the port of entry, and so what you need to do is at the port of entry, go ahead and do your checkout and get your passport stamped. Now, here's the thing. You're going to be going on a land border, and I will warn you, Blaine, and this, I mean, I've experienced it in McAllen, where people have gone to McAllen to the land borders and said, I need to check out, and they'll look at you like, we don't do that here. Usually it's very common in the airports because, like I said, the airlines can get in trouble. So the airline won't even let you get on board without you getting your stamp. But one of the things that you might run into, Blaine, I don't know how Belize is, but I do know the southwest border in Texas, Eagle Pass, McAllen, when you go and you try to check out, they look at you like you're kind of like crazy. No, we don't do that. Actually, some of them have even said, we don't stamp passports on your way out. And here's the thing, Blaine, and it's kind of weird I'm not going to advise you to break the rules, but what you want to do is go ahead and look and ask where the immigration is, insist, and tell them, look, I'm a resident. Here's my resident. I need to be stamped out because it's the law or whatever. If they keep telling you, no, 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 we don't do that. We don't do. Actually, what happened with somebody that I know personally that went through Eagle Pass, they told them stamp my pass because they were going to come back on the plane. They were going to come back in the plane, and they're supposed to put you in the computer, check you out on the computer. And the guy looked at him and like, no, we don't do that. We don't. Please, he said, just stamp my passport. So he stamped it, but he didn't even put it in the computer. But I told him, look, it's best that you do that because when you're coming back in, especially they were coming back in by plane, if for whatever reason someone says, oh, well, I don't see this in the computer you ever left. Well, look, here's my stamp. I don't know what the border agent did over there, why he didn't put it in the computer, but here's my stamp. But here's the thing, Blaine. If for whatever reason they don't want to stamp your passport, you don't get it stamped, don't worry, because it's for statistical purposes only. So when you come back and if you say, hey, look, here's my reentry or whatever, you're going to go back in from Belize. Here's my reentry. And if they say, well, you never exited. Well, yes, I did. And I tried to, and they didn't. And here's the thing. You're going to be coming through the same port, probably more than likely. So probably no one's going to question it. Where you would have a lot of problems if you're leaving on the land border but coming in by plane, that's where you're going to have a lot of issues because that's where it's a little bit more strict. As a matter of fact, Blaine, if you don't report to, I'm not telling you to do this, but if you don't report to immigration on the way out, and when you're coming back in, you show them they're more than likely 90. Well, they don't even check on the border. I know on the U.S. border, I can literally cross the Mexico-Texas border coming into Mexico and you not stopped by immigration and they never even know whether I came in or I left. So I don't know how the Belize border is. So you're just going to need to check on that. But I don't think you shouldn't have an issue. Usually the bus will stop at the border. And the reason why they stop at they do an outgoing stop. So just make sure that hey, when you get down, that you tell them, hey, look, I need to check out or whatever. Where's the immigration there in Belize? Oh, the Green Angels numbers on the back. You know what, Julie? I never checked the back of my receipt, but also I use the Tupase. I have a video about that, by the way. How to pay tolls. I have that little thing that you put on the window and you charge it up with money, sort of like a toll, and it automatically charges me. So I haven't seen the Green Angels number. So Stephanie, and QRO is one of the or two agents in the hall after you deplane. Yes. From what I understand, there's not much of an inspection here in QRO compared to other airports. Yeah, Tom, Puerto Vallarta is one of the airports. The thing, though, with Puerto Vallarta, I will tell you, Tom, Puerto Vallarta is one of the airports that was the first to get the electronic FMM. They were one of the first airports to get a lot of the technology upgrade. I have no idea why Puerto Vallarta is one. La Paz was another airport that was when they start doing the testing of all these programs and electronic FMMs. Mexico City also is very advanced, usually gets the technology first. So you'll probably see that. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Oh, okay. They actually do. The airlines actually do an FMM form for you and staple it to your boarding pass, then collect it. Yeah, I guess maybe, but actually the airlines, if the airlines are taking it in Puerto Vallarta, I'm not surprised because, from what I understand, it's supposed to be eventually, you're supposed to just show up with your passport and they're supposed to put it in the computer and you're not supposed to be able to, and that's part of all of this automation stuff that immigration's been doing. But I do know, just recently I traveled to Guatemala. I still had to check out in Mexico City, but I was in an international terminal and the INM booth was right there. But eventually the airlines are going to take care of it. I even stopped in the INM office. It told me to go to the airline counter. Yeah, that was a while ago. Yeah, Puerto Vallarta, like I said, they were one of the first ones for the electronic FMM. People were, as a matter of fact, people were going crazy when breaking news, you don't need an FMM anymore. But it was only in La Paz, and believe Puerto Vallarta was one of the first ones to get it. Ernie, is entry into the United States same protocol with nationals eligible? Yeah, it is the same in the sense. Which protocol are you talking about? You're talking about if you could a little bit get into the protocol is kind of the same going in the United States, but just so you can, if you could elaborate on the question a little bit. Fred, is it too much hassle to bring things like a moving van into Mexico, or just easier to start from scratch? Here's the thing, Fred. Bringing stuff into Mexico, first of all, you have to deal with customs and everything else. Sorry to say, no, not a problem, Fred. But first of all, bringing like a U-Haul into Mexico, you got to remember you're bringing an American vehicle into Mexico. So trying to rent a U-Haul and come into Mexico is not going to work. Now, there's other ways of bringing your stuff in. For example, I just finished talking about my friend and a colleague that owns the Mexico Daily Post that also owns a Best Mexico Pet Movers. He's got an actual big, humongous van, and he moves people and pets and your stuff if you want to. But I will tell you right now, it's probably one of the thing. Oh, you're talking about the I-95. But let me keep on your question, Tom. I mean, Fred. I've got ADHD, so sorry if I go 20 million directions. But this is what I experienced when I came to Mexico. We moved a bunch of our stuff. We actually thought we bought a house and everything. We were going to bring our living room and everything. We brought everything, and then we put it into the house, and it was like, it kind of doesn't fit. The rooms weren't as big as we thought they were because it was empty, and we thought, we're going to be able to. So a lot of things we ended up selling most of our stuff. The only thing we really kept when we came here, from all the stuff we moved, the only thing we really ended up keeping is the beds. We ended up, most of the furniture we have here, it's all custom made. We had it made custom, and it costs less than buying it at Rooms to Go, actually. So what I do advise people to do is try to just come here with a minimal amount of stuff. It's for two reasons. The first reason is, well, you know what? One of the things that we're used to is we're used to living in the United States in excess. We usually have an excess of stuff, and it's all about buying stuff and owning stuff and having stuff. And one of the things of bringing minimal amount of stuff is you start to realize, I don't need all of this stuff. I don't need a Frappuccino machine. I can make as a matter of fact, I don't need a separate Frappuccino machine, a separate cappuccino machine, a separate air fryer. But I have an air fryer and when you start finding out, and when you start living in an environment where everything is very simple, you start simplifying things. I don't need an air fryer anymore. I can fry my stuff, just like normal. I don't need a Frappuccino machine. I can make it with the cappuccino machine. You start to get a little bit more, and that's one of the beauties of moving to Mexico. It's not just about the cheaper living. It's about even becoming minimalist. A lot of the stuff that we were used to and a lot of habits that my wife and I had living in the United States, we just got rid of them. And we were like, we don't need that. We don't need this. We don't need that. Why am I spending money on this? Why am I spending money on that? And we started thinking, and it wasn't to save money. It was just sort of like, well, I haven't had that in a long time. And before I needed it, or I felt I needed it when I was living in the United States. But now I feel I don't need it anymore because I don't have it. So that's basically um, um, what I would advise you is bring as little as possible. What I do say is when people want to say bring furniture, maybe the beds or maybe sheets, stuff like that. For example, in Mexico, the king size bed is actually a different size than the king size bed in the United States. And that can cause problems because if you buy sheets, king size sheets here in Mexico, they're not going to fit your king size bed if you brought it from the United States. So there's just a lot of little things like that. So, and I know, Mike, the ESTA is a special. Yes, they don't need to do an I-94. It's an I-90. It's not an I-85. It's an I-94. And the I-94 is basically like the FMM. It's exactly like the FMM. It's just for people with visas. When you enter the United States, if you're going to travel past a certain amount of, or for a certain amount of day, more than a certain amount of days, you actually have to get a permission if you go in on a visa. And on the ESTA, that stuff came around a little later on, so I'm not really familiar with all the protocols of it. But what happens is they issue you an I-94 like they would issue you an FMM for people that are visa holders. And they'll say you have 90-day permission or 7-day permission or whatever the permission is. And that I-94 needs to be collected by the airline on the way out. And I don't know, like I said, it's been 7 years since I've left the immigration system and or working in that area of immigration and customs. And to be honest with you, there's all sorts of technology that came out, and I'm almost sure if Mexico automated their FMM system, I'm almost sure that the U.S. has made a lot of advances in their I-94. And they have the trusted traveler stuff, the ESTA program, all of that stuff. So I'm not really familiar with all of that stuff. Let me see here. In QRO checkout at the window on the far right of the checkout counter, and they bring the form with the ticket. Hold on. That you're actually answering one of my questions, Stephanie. In QRO, I check out at a window on the far right of the check-in counter and then bring the form to the ticket agent to get my boarding pass. Okay, all I know is that I'll have to look for that booth. I know that there was an INM booth at the security checkpoint that you'd have to go to and then go back. But I guess they have one near the ticket counter. But in the old days, you used to have to go straight to the immigration office. Actually, it's a small airport. It wasn't hard to find the immigration office. Marcus, I just flew out of PB a few weeks ago and had to stop at INM. They have been doing it this way for a while now. Wow, that's wild. Thanks for the update, Marcus, but it's weird because actually PV was the one that has been the most progressive about not having to do all of that stuff. But this goes to show you what Marcus is telling Tom. This goes to show you that things change all the time in Mexico. And when you start going to Facebook groups and I did a consult this afternoon, and this person was saying, I'm so overwhelmed and I'm getting 20 million different answers to questions. I don't know which one's right, which one's wrong. And that's why I started this channel, is so we can start. You need to understand that one person's experience isn't the other person's reality or experience. Everybody is speaking from experience. So one person might say, hey, I had to go to the immigration offices. Another person say, no, you don't, because I never had to. Well, just because you never had to doesn't mean that someone didn't make them go to the immigration office that day. It's not, there's no black and white here. if, for example, tomorrow, if I go to Querétaro, Stephanie just told me where to check out. Thank you, Stephanie. But if I go to Querétaro tomorrow and for some reason they just change the rules today to the next day, just because Stephanie said it's the counter on the right doesn't mean it's the counter on the right. It might now be I have to go to the office again. So you need to understand when you're sifting through information, you're researching Mexico, all of this, and everybody seems to, when they answer with this definite, no, this is the way it works. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. No, they're saying, no, you can't do it because they couldn't do it, not because the rule says you can't do it. Okay? Because for whatever reason, or maybe they're right, but it was just that the rules were applied to them one time, or someone goes, no, you can't do that. Yes, you can, because I've done it 20 million times. Well, just because you've done it doesn't mean there's not a rule. It's just that they haven't applied the rules to you and they applied the rules to someone else. So that's what you need to understand. You really need to take everything with a grain of salt, and there's no definite yes or no, this is the way it worked. Stephanie, yeah, you know what? Maybe it's that little small window that you're talking about. I know that at one point they were, like I said, it was over, and maybe they were trying to reduce you having to walk all the way over to the checkpoint and then come back out. But okay, Marcus. Yeah, they may have changed it back. I actually didn't feel comfortable with the airlines doing it. I totally don't mind stopping by the INM office. And there might have been something that happened with the airlines that they weren't doing their job right. And so maybe immigration said, no. Now they need to come back. So, that's just Mexico. That's the dynamics of how it works here. And I will, thanks. Buy a Comal, you'll be good. So, you need to understand that, and the rules here are, like I said, someone said the rules are just suggestions. And he says that, he says that more in a context of don't follow the rules because the rules really don't work or really don't matter. That's not true. The problem is that, yes, the rules can be suggestions sometimes, but at the same time, when they decide to follow the rules, it's a whole world of hurt. Okay? So just know what's going on and know what have a good feeling for what's going on. Memories. How are you doing? Okay, you were departing Puerto Vallarta. TSA is in the United States. You're talking about TSA in the U.S. pulling you over this way, or you're talking about leaving Puerto Vallarta? Because there is no TSA in Puerto Vallarta. But if you're talking, here's the thing: if you're outgoing to another country or back to the United States from Puerto Vallarta, okay. Yeah, you were saying from Puerto. And it says that was the first solo, kind of left bad taste in my mouth. Embarrassing. One of the things that you're going to find, immigration does a lot of checks going on the way out. And then airport security. I don't know about Puerto Vallarta, but you're probably talking about the security line, or if you're talking about TSA, you're probably talking about the security line. The security lines here are very hit and miss. It just depends. I remember I've gone through some airports where they tell you, don't take off your shoes. Don't worry about it. Other airports, you have to do what you have to do in the United States. Take off your shoes. One time we came into Mexico, we were leaving Mexico we were traveling from Cancun. We had some of these you put posters in, you roll them up, you put them, and then you put they're like little cylinders, and they gave us a hard time. What's in the cylinders? Then they wanted to open the cylinders, and the cylinders were all taped up. We were like, "There's paintings in there, running through the X-ray machine." So you will run into sometimes where they're over, and that's a perfect example. People will tell you, airport security, here's a joke. They didn't even make me take my, and I've seen this, I've literally seen this. Airport security, here's a joke. They didn't even make me take my shoes off. They didn't even make me take my belt off. And I went through the magnetometer. I'm not even sure if it worked. And then look at what happened to you, Memories. And they actually were swabbing you and all sorts of stuff. But that happens in the United States all the time. Let me tell you something. I used to travel in the United States as a federal agent, armed. I mean, I used to be able to get on airplanes armed because I was a federal agent. And I had run-ins with TSA. And they were talking about an agent that's literally able to get on the plane with a firearm. And I had issues with TSA. It just all depends who's working. This is not something that's brand new. It could be in Mexico, not. And I know that it can be a very, especially if you're not in that area of expertise. Like, for example, I was in the law enforcement area. So when TSA was giving me a hard time, I was like, okay, go ahead and check my bag. Go ahead and check this. I mean, I'm not kidding you. After 9/11, I was getting on the plane. I was pre-boarding because, of course, you get to pre-board because you have to meet the pilot and all sorts of stuff. It's a long story. But I was getting on the plane, and TSA pulled me over for inspection. And I'm like, dude, you don't want to inspect my stuff. I'm a federal agent, and trust me, you don't want to inspect my stuff. No, we need to inspect you. We don't care who you are, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, and I've got a gun, a firearm, and I'm authorized to have that firearm. So what are you going to do when you find it? It doesn't make sense. So you need to understand that sometimes security doesn't make sense. And especially when you start saying that 3 people started surrounding you, let's swab you, all of that stuff, it can look very intimidating. It can feel very intimidating. It never felt intimidating to me. But that's because I knew the system. That's because I was comfortable with the system. But I can see where you probably freaked out. But it's what you experienced is probably a little bit more of a rare instance than it is common here in Mexico. That's all I can really tell you. The FMM2 seems like an e-visa thing, as my friend is coming along with me as a Mexican citizen. I'm glad I don't need to do all of this paperwork. Yeah. It's not now electronic. Actually, there's no physical form. So, oh, so you just flew out of Querétaro. Yeah, and actually that's what I was under understanding, that the INM booth at one point was next to the security checkout, or where you go in through the security, you check out there and then you give the FMM to the gate agent, but who knows? I'm going to have to figure that out. But, and I do know it's changed several times in Querétaro. Gina, I don't check a bag, so maybe it's different. Lisa, we are moving to PB on January 14th. Our contact appointments on the 15th. Hopefully we get our card that day. The question is, do I need to get my passport stamped when we fly? Yes, you do. You have to get your CONHIP stamp when you fly. Okay, wait a second here. But you're already, hold on right here. Let me see your situation, Lisa, because I'm kind of confused. We're moving to PV on January 14th. Okay. Yes. Well, where are you going to be entering the U.S., Lisa? I mean, where are you going to be entering Mexico? If you're going to be entering, okay, here's the thing with your passport stamp. What you're going to need to do with your canje when you come in, wherever you enter Mexico is where you need to get your passport stamped, canje, with your canje. And then you go to immigration, okay? If you're going to fly from PV to, which I don't think PV is kind of close, you'd be going on the bus probably. But if you're going to fly into Querétaro, or if you're flying into Querétaro before you do your canje, or you're going to do it here in Querétaro, then when you enter from the foreign country is where you have to get your passport stamp. Once you get your passport stamp, they're going to stamp it with a canje, and that's a 30-day permission, sort of like a 30-day FMM, to get to the immigration office to do your actual canje, complete your process. Let's say you come in on the 1st of January and you have your appointment on the 15th, and you fly into Mexico. Let's say you fly into Mexico City. You have to get it done in Mexico City. That's where you get your passport stamp. But let's say you go from Mexico City to Puerto Vallarta because you got your appointment in Puerto Vallarta. You don't have to do anything after that. You have 30 days to get to immigration. You have basically it's like having an FMM or a visa or a permit. So you have that 30 days. Let's say your appointment is not to the 15th. You want to go to San Miguel de Allende between, I don't know, the 1st and the 15th. You go to San Miguel de Allende on the 2nd, or you fly to Monterrey. You stay in the country. Let's just say you stay in the country. You fly to Monterrey for a couple of days, and then you go, let's say you just go on a Mexico tour. You have permission to be in the country for that 30 days. Now, let's say at the end of the 30 days, not at the end of the 30 days, let's say your appointment's on the 20th and you've been traveling all over Mexico. Well, you just go on the 20th to your appointment. You give them your passport with your canje, and you shouldn't have a problem. But when you do the canje, when you enter into the Mexico from the United States or Canada or whatever it may be, when you enter from that foreign country is where you get your canje passport stamp. What we're talking about, Lisa, and what might have you a little bit confused, is we're talking about passport and going to INM and checking out. That's once you have your temporary resident card. Once you have your temporary resident card or your permanent resident card, like, for example, I have a permanent residency card. You said I think you said temporary residency, I want to say. And actually, Lisa, I actually assumed, because you were saying you were coming from Puerto Vallarta, I assumed that you already had your card when I answered your previous question. But you still can go into the Mexican citizen line with your canje. Actually, I would usually do that. If they make you go to the other line, that's fine. But make them make you go to the other line, because I'll tell you what, Lisa, you have a better chance because you're being treated kind of like, you just say canje, and make sure they put that canje in there when you check in. But you don't need, when you do get your card, let's say you move to Puerto Vallarta, but I don't know, in March you need to go back. You have to check out with immigration, and I don't know. Tom was talking about in Puerto Vallarta. When he leaves Puerto Vallarta, they have to, I guess the system has changed. One time the airline was doing it, and another time now you have to go to the immigration office. But you have to check out, when you're a resident here in Mexico, you have to get your passport stamped, check out, and you get it stamped. It used to be that you used to have to fill out an FMM in reverse, kind of, sort of. It's kind of a weird thing, but you used to have to fill out. You don't have to do that anymore because everything's automated. You are correct. Procedures. I just smile and do whatever they tell me to do. Yeah, and that's what I do, Stephanie. The thing's always changing. Yeah, memories. I did nothing wrong. Didn't have anything but my beach bag. Yeah, and I understand, memories. You just were the unlucky one to get, I don't know how you might say it, a higher alert of inspection. And the other thing that I need to explain to you too, memories, This happens in the U.S. and I know it happens in Mexico because I know they have a system to do that because I worked with them before. A lot of times these things are random, and it's very common, even in TSA, to actually make them do random checks. And they have to do these random checks because it's a way of kind of checking to see if their stuff is working. And it's also a way of keeping the security guards up to date, that they don't get complacent. So a lot of times these random checks are done, and it's done here in Mexico too, on airport security. And it's just to make sure that, and there's usually a supervisor around watching them do the random checks to make sure they're doing it correctly. Maybe it was somebody that was in training. So that's one of the things that you need to, I know I'm not trying to defend Mexico here. I know it kind of stinks because it's like, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's funny because I was watching, I forgot what the name of that Netflix series is. It's a real popular Netflix series about this guy that he's a TSA agent. They want to put a bomb on a plane, and he goes and he saves the world, I guess. I forgot what it's called, The Package or something. It's a Netflix, and actually it's a big movie right now. And one of the things that, the TSA, people were yelling at them and saying, yeah, you guys are, and my this and my that, and blah, 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 blah. It's frustrated passengers. And you need to understand these people need to do their job. I mean, yeah, you didn't get treated that way by TSA in the United States, and you got treated that way by TSA in Mexico. It's no different. Maybe one day you're going to go through the airport and TSA in the United States is going to give you a hard time. And like I said, I've had TSA give me a hard time. Literally, I had to call the security people, I guess, not the TSA supervisor, but they have these ground security people with FAA to let me even pass through security checkpoints a couple of times. And I didn't argue with them. I mean, I was just like, okay, let's talk to the ground coordinator and we'll go from there. And you don't fight, you do what they say. I've traveled even as a federal agent where I didn't go through the express line and I wasn't armed and I had to go through the line like everybody else. And one time my backpack, I have gunpowder, I put magazines and guns and firearms in my backpack. And boy, my backpack lit up like it was an explosive device. And I had to sit there with TSA and explain why my backpack was that way. They were really nice to me. Of course, after I explained to them, be on your way. And I had to sit there for a while because, when your backpack lights up for gunpowder or whatever it was, a residue, everybody and their dog shows up, including the uniformed police officers, everybody. And the following time, and I actually took that backpack through another security checkpoint because I had to come back. I told him, before you swab that, let me explain to you what's going on because it's going to light up. So you just have to kind of go with the flow, memories. And I apologize that you got treated that way. It's not. It can be like I said, if I didn't know what was going on and I'm freaking out, I would not. What I mean by freaking out, if I didn't know any better than of the system, then it would be very, very, very intimidating and a very bad experience. And I can see how it can be. Yes, you are, Lisa, you are still able to fly. Here's the thing. Once you get that Canje, you are able, once you get that passport stamp in Canje, you have a 30-day permission to be here in the United States. I mean, not in the United States, in Mexico. You have a 30-day permission. You can travel anywhere. Also, you won't be checked. Now, you might have to, let's say you're traveling from Puerto Vallarta, because there are domestic checks. I've been asked for my resident card, but it's usually in Cancun. If Puerto Vallarta, the immigration says, hey, where's your papers? You show them your passport. Here's my Canje visa. And if they say, well, why are you going to San Miguel de Allende? Or why are you going to Querétaro? I have an appointment there, and I have, whatever. You tell them that why you're coming here, when you're coming here to meet with a bunch of people, and your appointment's on the 15th, and okay, they're going to let you go. You shouldn't have any issues. You should be able to fly. You don't. One thing you need to understand about the Conque, once you get, basically, I'll tell you what, technically, Lisa, when they stamp your Conque, they issue you an FMM. So basically, you just have an FMM for 30 days, and it's good as gold. It's good as a tourist FMM for that 30 days. So memories. That's not bad. I have been body searched, patted down so intimately. I was going to ask if we could have a cigarette afterwards. LOL. Well, and that does happen. Yeah. And also, that's another thing. Gringos R Us has you should be good to go. Just keep your Conque and show them your visa page. Yeah, and just make sure you're traveling with your passport. That's your permission to be there, be here with your stamp and your passport. So if anybody stops you, immigration at the gate, now I doubt they're going to stop you at the gate going from Puerto Vallarta to Querétaro. Maybe they'll stop you at the gate, like I've been stopped at the gate going from Cancun to Monterrey, because Monterrey is going towards the border. So maybe they're thinking that you're going home or whatever the deal is. So they might target those planes a little bit more, but you shouldn't have an issue. Immigration does do random domestic checks, but you shouldn't have any issues. Yeah, memories, exactly. You've been coming in here since you were 20, and you just hit. I mean, you just hit a bad day. And like you said, you've never had any issues. You've always been polite, and you haven't had any issues. So you need to understand. Sometimes these things are random. I'll give you another example. And actually this has happened to me. I was down on the South Texas border. We used to travel into Mexico there on the border to get dental work done, stuff like that. I went across one day, and at that time we weren't Homeland Security yet. I was with Customs, and I was a customs agent crossing over the bridge, coming in from Mexico at a customs checkpoint. And Customs pulls me over randomly because they have random checks just like everybody else. And they pulled me out of the car. They had to do and I already knew what was going on because I was part of Customs at the time. I was investigation. They were operations. And I knew exactly what they were doing because I was part of the agency. But I just sat there, and I didn't sit there and say, hey, man, I know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. No, you know what? And they knew who I was. As a matter of fact, I used to go and actually respond to that port of entry whenever they would get a load of drugs or whatever it might be. And so they knew who I was, and they just said, yay. And actually they apologized. Hey, Ernie, we're sorry, man. We got to do this. You know how it is. Yeah, don't worry. I mean, run the dog. I mean, you have to, because that was their protocol. So you need to understand, even though you weren't doing anything, I wasn't doing anything wrong. As a matter of fact, I was part of the agency. Actually, we had a federal judge that passed through one of the ports of entries. And actually, the federal judge came to me and started yelling and screaming how they made him get out of the car. They don't understand. He's a federal judge. How dare they? And I had to explain to him. I said, Judge, listen. And actually, it's because the federal judge happened to be a good friend of my family's. And I told the judge, you need to understand that these are random checks. And the random checks, when they do a random check, they have to do the full 9 yards. It doesn't matter whether you're a judge. And I even told them, I've been stopped before. I've been stopped on the bridge before. And I've been told that I've had to go through that same search. The only difference between me and you is you didn't know what was going on. I did. Okay? I knew it was a random search. And you need to understand that these random searches happen. Okay? It's just, it's the way security works. And it's not just customs, immigration. It's the way security works in general. As a matter of fact, even when you have security of a venue, sometimes you have a magnetometer and they'll tell the security guard every 10th person that walks through, you check their bag. Every 6th person that walks through, just randomly check their bag. And a lot of it too is for appearances too. If they see people are getting their bags randomly checked, oh, well, I don't know. I don't want to sneak something or try to sneak something in. So that's, I understand. I understand where you're coming from, and I understand where you're coming from, but you just need to understand too on the same thing. That's the price we pay for security, I guess you might say. And overall, that's, I know a lot of people, too younger, maybe a chip on, not necessarily a chip on their shoulder. Maybe they were told to randomly. You can never guess why, but like I said, you just never know. And I'll tell you what, probably won't happen to you again for a long time, especially if you've been traveling here for many years. Okay. We have a visitor. Okay. Oh, Carry On. Yes. The movie was called Carry On. I just watched it. Yes. And I don't know if you remember, at the very end of the movie, Lisa, there was a guy sitting there saying, "You guys are incompetent, blah, blah, blah." And, because he became an LA cop or whatever later on because he saved the world. And he looked at the TSA guy and like, hey, I know what it was like to get yelled at like that. And that's part of the way it works. Gina, they gave you a hard time coming back in from France. Yeah, it just all depends. You were pulled aside, Stephanie, you were pulled aside for a random TSA check. Yes. I was pulled aside many times for random checks. Even when I would show them my paperwork. Hey, dude, you might want to check somebody else randomly because, what good are you going to do security-wise if I can get on the plane, if I'm getting on the plane as a federal agent, you know what I mean? You might want to check other people to see. But, it's just one of those things that you need to sit down and just kind of understand that they're just doing their job. And I know how frustrating it can be. I've been stopped many times randomly for whatever reason it might be, for different reasons. As a matter of fact, I've even been stopped going through checkpoints here in Mexico, and it takes five minutes of my time. I've never been told to get down or anything else like that, but it's do whatever you need to do. You're just doing your job. And I learned that a little bit more, Memories, and I'll tell you where I learned it. I learned it from being on the other side of on the other side. I learned it from being on from being on the security side. I learned it because I know what it's like for people to start yelling and screaming at me. I'm not doing anything wrong. Well, I'm just trying to do my job, ma'am, sir. I'm just trying to do my job. I just need to do this. Please let me do it. Now, here's the thing. Some people have attitudes, TSA, whoever it might be. Some people have attitudes. Some people are nice. Hey, I was the type that was nice. Said, look, I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. Look, here, I understand, sir. I understand, ma'am. So, yeah, you might say, hey, they should have been less rude. But other than that, so you had some brought home a family remedy. They thought I had cocaine. Yeah. And here's the thing, Michael, the minute they think you have cocaine, they're going to treat it that way. And then they de-escalate when they go and they do the test on the powder and they see that it's not, then sorry. As a matter of fact, I'll even give you another example. I was coming back. renewed my passport. My passport was expiring. I renewed my passport, but I had it sent to my U.S. address, and we were in Monterrey. So I said, I'll go pick it up, right? My passport card had expired. So we're driving back, and he takes my passport card and he says, it's expired. It might be a false document or something's going on. This guy's got Mexican plates. So the guy didn't tell me anything. And he's like, we have a little bit of a problem. You need to come with me, all of that stuff. And I'm like, dude, I know why you, and I even said it. Let me guess. My passport's expired, my passport card. And he said, yeah. I said, yeah, that's the reason why I'm coming to the United States is to pick up my new one. And they go, well, we're going to have to take you in immigration and we're going to have to check to make sure that, go ahead, let's go. I'm not. And I walked with the guy. Literally, we pulled over. He walked with my car over to the secondary, and they took me into the immigration area. And we started talking, and of course, I told them I was retired and where I was retired from, and then they were looking at me kind of weird, like, "Why are you here?" And then the other guy was like, "Because he's got a fake document." That's what they thought. And I'm like, dude, it's not a fake document. And they said, well, he even said, and he wanted to see how I was reacting. He says, we're going to have to take I said, take it. I don't care. I mean, I don't have any use for it. It's expired. So I said, take it. That's fine with me. I don't have any issues with it. I'm going to get my new one. And as a matter of fact, the next time I come through, I'll be fine. Okay. And I've never had an issue. And they even said, well, we're going to have to put this in the computer if we stop you again. I said, put it in the computer. And if I have to stop every single time I come through, then I have to stop. I mean, I'm not, but I understand it from being on the other side. I understand. I didn't take it out on the guy because he was doing his job. That's the point I'm trying to make. So, I understood it because I've been there. I've been on the other guy's shoes. So, not necessarily as an inspector, but as an investigator, as an agent, we did a lot of things where we had to do our job. And I know what it's like for people to be frustrated. I know what it's like for a person to say, I didn't do anything wrong. And I know what it's like for them to tell me, I told you so. Just like Mike said he was, kind of laughing because they were going to put him behind bars. I wouldn't have said that, but I know what it's like to be frustrated and everything else. So I think, let's see where we're at here. We're at 1 hour and 37 minutes. I never make my hour time per se. I always say only an hour, but I usually go over to 1 hour and 30 minutes. But 2 hours we've gone a couple of times. Merry Christmas to you guys all, and have a happy new year. I will see you after the new year. We'll see where I'm going to be after the new year to see if I can do a surprise live stream. What I'll try to do, I have some mobile streaming software for my iPad. I have some mobile streaming, and so I did one from Merida. Maybe I'll do one from our other location. But like I said, we're going to be celebrating our wedding, our anniversary. So I don't know how much I don't know how much I'll be able to sneak, or how much time we'll have, because we're going to take a quick trip. So have a Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año. And have a great, let's bring in the new year with a great attitude, and let's see where it goes from here. And you guys, like I said, I love this community, and thank you for everything you've done. I guess Thanksgiving's already passed, but I'm thankful for all of you. And I'm thankful for the community that we built. And it's a really neat little community because it's not too big. It's not commercial. It's not big time 200,000 or 300,000 YouTuber subscriber. It's something that I can especially even with the live streams. We have 20 to 30, maybe even 40 people show up on these live streams. And it's great because it's a good amount of number of people that I'm not on the live stream for 3 hours trying to get to everybody. And I'm able to get to pretty much everybody, hopefully, on my live streams. And what we'll probably see you the first Sunday after the New Year, if not maybe sooner. But you guys have a great Christmas. I have family here. Actually, I've got family downstairs. They're waiting for me. They just got in today. I have my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and 2 nieces that are here. My in-laws got here Friday. So I have a full house. And Gina and Mark, I will text in the group chat pretty soon so to come up with some ideas, and we'll get that invite page going. I guess Gina's already working on it. Thank you very much, Gina. I probably won't be working on a venue until right after New Year's, or after I get back from my little trip. But we should be able to get a venue where they'll be able to put aside a room, and everybody order whatever they want to order. But I want to see what's available. Thank you, guys. Happy holidays, everybody. This is the last year. We're going to start next year off. We'll be fine. We'll be good. And like I always say, until next year, stay safe and stay informed.